What's going on, everybody? It's Bartula here, and in this video we're going to be talking about some of the things that you need to have in your Terraria boss arenas in order to make the fights go much more smoothly. So the first thing that you're really going to need to do is, of course, build the actual boss arena. This is going to be like your platforms that you're going to go ahead and fight the enemies on. So first we're going to go ahead and do that. I'd like to note that the height that you make in between your platforms really is up to you, just however many blocks you like to use. Some people like there to be a bigger gap, some people don't. I'm just going to use a pretty average gap of around like 10 to 15 blocks in between my platforms. Alright, so obviously the amount of layers that you want to have in your boss arena are going to be completely up to you. Right now I have this base layer, which has my asphalt blocks so I can run really fast across my world. And then I have 4 additional layers of wooden platforms above it. Obviously you can feel free to build all the way up to 10 more layers if that's how many you feel you need. I'm just going to go 4 here because I'm pretty happy with 4, but it doesn't hurt to go up to even 5 or 6. Alright, so after you set yourself up with a bunch of platforms, you're going to go ahead and take some sort of block. For me, I'm going to use rainbow brick because I've never used it in a build before, so I figured this would be a good time to use it. And we're going to make like a few areas along our platforms here, something like this, like you're around 5 blocks wide or so, and kind of like in this triangular form, so that way we can put some torches there, and it's going to light everything up, as well as being a space to put some of our buffs and other materials on. I like to state that there's definitely no set distance that you should have for these blocks. It's really just up to you and how much you want to build here. This is just the general size and shape that I like to use, so feel free to mimic this or actually make it however you want it to be. And as for the spacing in between them, again, up to you. You can go far, you can go wide, as long as the buffs are within close enough range. That way you actually get to use them. That's what's going to be important here. So we'll come back after we've gone ahead and set up all these little platforms for our campfires and whatnot. Alright, so at this point, your boss arena should look something like this, with a bunch of platforms, as well as some places with some bricks or whatever block you want to use to stop. And what we're going to do is basically at every spot that has these bricks, we're going to go ahead and take some campfires and place them there. I went ahead and made mine an uneven amount of blocks, or an odd amount of blocks long. That way these campfires would perfectly fit right in the middle. So you're just going to go ahead and drop all your campfires down something like this. This way we're going to go ahead and get that life regen is slightly increased from the cozy fire buff. After having the cozy fire buff, we're going to go ahead and take some heart lanterns and go ahead and throw them on basically every single platform, just like we did with the campfires. This is obviously going to give us the heart lamp buff, which also will increase life regeneration. Alright, after placing our heart lanterns, we're going to go ahead and place our star in a bottle. We're going to do this again on the other side of the heart lanterns. This is going to give us the star in a bottle buff, which also increases our mana regeneration. Alright, since it's getting dark, I went ahead and crafted some rainbow brick walls that I'm going to go ahead and place on the background. That way it kind of makes it look like these are a bunch of columns in like a coliseum or something like that. Obviously you design it how you want it to be, make it look nice, you know, do whatever you want to it, draw some designs in the background, really whatever you want to do. And I can see that this doesn't even line up, so I'm going to go ahead and actually redo this right here real quick. Alrighty, so after you've gone ahead and set up something like I have now with your brick type blocks as well as your background blocks, we can go ahead and add the next piece of this build, which is going to be our torches, just to light up the entire thing. Alrighty, so after we've gone ahead and placed all of our torches, and your build looks somewhat similar to mine right now, we're going to go ahead and place a couple stations down, which are going to give us some combat buffs. Alright, so the stations that we're going to need for this are the Sharpening Station, the Bewitching Table, the Ammo Box, and the Crystal Ball. So obviously what each one of these are going to do is the ammo box is going to save us ammo, switching table will allow us to increase our max number of minions, Sharpening Station increases the armor penetration, and the crystal ball, which increases multiple magic powers such as your mana usage, your mana for critical strike chance, your total mana that you can have as a cap. So all these are going to be useful depending on what your build is and what you decide to fight enemies with. Alright, the next thing we're going to want to go ahead and add is the bass statue, which I have right here. This is found in the underground desert. It's actually like a really important piece for boss arenas if you ask me, because it's basically a free increase in your defense by 5. You're going to go ahead and find this item in the underground desert in sandstone chests, which look like this right here, and obviously this is the biome. In the early game it might be harder to come across this item, but if you can go ahead and get yourself one, it's definitely going to be a huge increase, especially in the early game when defense isn't that high to begin with. And at this point, this is something I like to do in all of my builds pretty much, is I like to put a clock in there, that way I know exactly what time it is, and when you're fighting bosses, it's honestly going to be pretty important, that way you know exactly when the night starts and you can spawn, and also you know exactly when the night ends in case they become enraged, and same thing goes for the events, that way you know how much time you have left to fight your Pumpkin Moon event, Pirate Invasion, you know, like whatever event you decide to fight. Alrighty, after adding all this stuff, we're going to go ahead and add some things that are going to increase our movement speed as well as decrease the spawns for random enemies. As you can see here with all these coins that are on the ground, my Stardust Dragon is killing all these random werewolves and slimes. It's just going to kind of get those out of our way, and when you're fighting a boss and you have these little guys that are just like spawning around you and they're getting in your way, it definitely can be troublesome. I know I've had countless encounters in pre-hard mode where like all these enemies have been spawning and then like they have ruined my health regeneration or my movement speed or whatever has happened, and they've killed me. Or caused me to die, and it's just been awful. So adding these simple sunflowers can help fix that problem. So what you're going to go ahead and do is place down some dirt blocks somewhere. I'm going to go to the right side of my torch line here, and in between each rainbow brick layer here, and you're going to go ahead and place down 2 dirt blocks, and then use a staff of regrowth to create grass on them, and place down the sunflower. And what that's going to do is increase our movement speed and reduce monster spawns, and we're going to go ahead and do this throughout the entire build. Alrighty, and since we're on the topic of reducing enemy spawns, what we're going to go ahead and add next are these right here, which are peace candles, which are crafted from pink torches and gold bars. And you're going to get pink torches with pink gel, which is obviously going to be obtained from killing Pinky. And we'll go ahead and place these down somewhere like on these platforms. I'll go right here, and you'll see that the buff it gives me is decreased monster spawn rate. So again, same thing as before, it's just going to help get rid of those little mobs that are going to get in your way when you're in the midst of fighting. Alright, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do here is increase our luck stat. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and use the garden gnome, which I have right here. These can be a bit hard to find in your world. You should definitely look up a link like on the Terraria wiki about the garden gnomes and like how to obtain them, because they're a bit trickier to obtain when it comes to like how they spawn and how many can spawn in a world. But getting them is hugely important for many farms and honestly boss arenas, because when you increase your luck stat, you're obviously going to increase your chances of getting certain drops. So what could end up being usually like a 5% drop rate might go up to 6% or whatever it is, right? Obviously there's some math behind that and how much time you spend killing the enemies, but in general, the garden gnome is going to be helpful for increasing our luck stat. When you place this down, you won't actually see a buff come up here in the top, but I'm telling you, you can look it up if you'd like, that the garden gnome definitely does increase your luck stat. And on top of that, if you're building an arena in the underground, like let's say in the underground desert right here, what you can also do to increase your luck stat is by using Biome Torches. So in the case of the underground desert, you would use desert torches, the jungle would be the jungle, the hollow torches would obviously be in the underground hollow, and by adding these to those biomes, you will actually also increase your luck stat. But since we are just in a natural biome up top here, it's not really going to be useful to us, so I'm not going to go ahead and add those torches. Alright, so another thing I like to do is add a little section for honey. Honey is important because it helps increase life regeneration here. So if I go ahead and take some more rainbow blocks, we can place them down like this, and we'll kind of like make a little box or a little slot for the honey to go in. We can drop the honey in there. When you walk in, you see that we get life regeneration is increased. You jump out and it lasts 30 seconds. So let's say you're going to fight the Moon Lord and you're waiting for him to spawn. You just sit inside your honey, you wait, and as soon as he spawns, you fly out and you just start fighting him. Obviously, if you're going to go ahead and run over the honey, then you might have a problem, because look, you'll slip in like this. If you want to go ahead and fix that a little bit, you could like take 2 blocks like so. You could hammer them, and that way hopefully you just like run right over it. You know, worst case scenario, you get stuck in it for a second, but you could also get rid of it entirely. Alright, and the last thing that we're going to add to this boss arena for this particular build are going to be heart statues and star statues. And not many people know about this. I guess obviously people do know about it, but not everyone does, is that these statues, when they're activated, actually do drop hearts and stars. And if they are far enough distance apart, they can also drop even more. So for instance, we'll go over here to the left side and we'll throw down a heart statue on this layer here. And then we'll come over onto this side and we will do the same thing right here with the heart statue, and we'll do the star statue up top. If you don't use mana as much, then I guess that one won't be as important. But then I'm going to take the grand design here. I'll wire these two up together. I'm going to go ahead and wire them up. We're going to go all the way to the top actually to activate these. And I'm going to bring them... We'll go around somewhere like here. I don't want to activate the torches by accident and turn off the torches, so as long as you get these connected, doesn't really need to look too neat, then you'll be okay. Alright, connected over like that. We'll go ahead and throw down this 1 second timer, and I'll go ahead and show you that they do in fact spawn. As we can see, we got soul cakes, which are your mana hearts, and then candy apples, which are going to be your actual hearts. Because it's Halloween time right now, that's why they look like that. But you keep the timer on, you can see they're dishing them out. Check the other side, same thing over here. So I can honestly tell you that there have been times when I have been fighting bosses in like early hard mode where having this setup here has been huge, because like I've been like weak on HP, right? So you just run down here, boom, and just like that you collected 60 hearts. You know, you fly back to the other side, you're in the heat of battle, you can't use your potion, you're on cooldown, boom, there's some more. You know, like it's super easy to do. I definitely recommend having that set up in your boss arena. Alright, and then a few bonus things that you can add if you're really feeling up to it. It's going to be something similar to what I have built here. This is an old boss arena I had from years ago on a different world. So what you can go ahead and do is add a little house for the Dryad. The Dryad is going to be important actually because you're going to get the Dryad's Blessing, which is going to increase your defense as well as your life regeneration. And honestly, it's by a pretty wide margin, so I definitely recommend if you can throw the Dryad in your boss arena, go ahead and do it. Even if she ends up dying, it's okay, because she'll just respawn right back in the exact same house, you know, the following day. So it's definitely worth it to throw her there. And then also you can go ahead and throw the nurse. In my case, I have Lisa over here, who there has been a few times in prior playthroughs that she's come in clutch where I've been in a boss fight. I've like flown up under here, grabbed here, and then, you know, healed real quick, and boom, I was good to go. But that's a little more risky because you actually have to go talk to her. The Dryad is, you know, just going to be passive as long as you are near her and you see her spinning her like leaves in a circle. And then, of course, the most obvious part on my screen are going to be these sections which have water and honey in them. So if you have the cute fish round mount like I have here, you can fly around, and by going through liquid, you increase your movement speed. And so what you can do is fly around in circles here through the water with your increased movement speed, as well as you're flying through honey, so you're going to constantly get that honey life regeneration buff. And it'll look something like I'm doing right here, where you're just flying right back and forth. But I personally don't like this setup that much because I prefer to fight just like on my feet. I think it's more fun to fight that way and with wings as opposed to being on this cute fish round mount. But if you do that, easy way to do it, and you're going to go ahead and use these bubble blocks, which I have right here. And yeah, it's just going to be a really easy way for you to kind of dodge the enemies while in midair, as well as getting some fast movement speed. Alright, this is going to basically be it for the video, guys, on how to make a nice boss arena in Terraria. If you want to make it a bit better, you could always add a few more places for your banners if you're going to be doing some events, or if you're going to be having blue slimes spawning around you, you can throw up some blue slime banners here, which will obviously increase your defense and your attack against them. So those are definitely things that you can do, but for the general concept of how to build a boss arena, this is definitely what you're going to go ahead and look for. I didn't cover any potion buffs in this video, or armor, or items such as, like, you know, your legendary zenith or anything like that. Strictly things that you could actually like build in your world that are going to give you some sort of like passive buff that you don't really have to do anything for. So anytime you're over here, you just, you know, go ahead and you click a few buttons, and next thing you know, you're getting jacked up in terms of your survivability aspect. Alright, it's going to be for the video, guys. So if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something new, if you thought it was cool, I would really appreciate it if you guys drop a like on this video. I definitely think you guys should subscribe for future Terraria content, because I have some videos coming out in the near future here, later this month, that I think you guys are going to really like. Some of my past videos that I uploaded were in similar fashion to it, but not quite the exact same, and you guys seem to enjoy those a lot, so definitely stay tuned for what I have to come in the future here. Yeah, that's going to be it, guys. So, as always, it's been Bartula, and I'll see you all in the next one.